Welcome to the Make More Money as a Dietitian podcast. I am your host, Christine Diane Thompson, and this podcast is for dietitians who are ready to stop apologizing for wanting more money, more freedom, and a career that actually honors everything that you bring to the table. This is where we ditch the guilt and start building something big. If that resonates with you, let's go ahead and get started with today's episode. Hey there, dietitian friends. How are you? Welcome to episode 366 of the Make More Money as a Dietitian podcast. So great to be back with you for another episode this week. I feel like it's been a minute since I've recorded because I've been batching these episodes. So I've batched like 4 or 5 of them at a time. And so it feels like I have not been with you, but I have been with you. I just haven't recorded in a minute. So if this is your first time, welcome to the Make More Money as a Dietitian podcast. It's so great to have you. And if you're an OG listener from the beginning, when we were Make More Money as a Dietitian, then we changed it to Do All the Things. And now we're back to Make More Money as a Dietitian. Thank you for being here. Thank you for sticking with me through the transitions. And today I have something really great for you because I want to talk about something that we often don't talk about when it comes to success and creating the career and the lifestyle that we really, really want for ourselves. Today, I want to talk to you about when success isn't enough. And I just want you to know that this resonates so deeply for me because I feel like I've lived this and I can definitely talk about it. So, I wonder if anyone listening can resonate with the feeling that you have when you look at your life from the outside and you think, this should be enough. You have like your successful career or your, really successful practice. You have the steady income. You may even have the recognition from your colleagues. And you've checked all the boxes you thought you would need to check in order to make you happy. But here you are listening to this podcast possibly because something inside you is saying there has to be more than this. And if that does resonate, I do want you to know that you're not alone and you're definitely not ungrateful. You're not selfish for feeling this way. Okay. Today, we are talking about this success thing, okay? Because I feel like for some time we've been chasing success, myself included. No, I'm no different than most people. I really enjoy checking the boxes, and not only checking the boxes just for the sake of checking them, but I like feeling accomplished. And then maybe when we get to that pinnacle of our career, when we feel like we've checked all the boxes, we may realize, okay, now what? Right? When you've achieved everything that you thought you wanted, but you still feel unfulfilled or like you're just going through the motions. Anybody resonate with that? Well, this episode is for my high achievers who have built something real, but find themselves wondering if this is really what they worked so hard for. Okay, so let's go ahead and dive in. What no one really tells you about being successful is that sometimes it just isn't enough. It doesn't feel like enough. You work your way up, you build your practice, you establish your reputation. People see you as the expert, the go-to dietitian in your area, in your niche. and you're making decent money. You have clients who trust you. And from the outside, everything looks exactly like what success should look like. But here's the thing, my friends. Here is the thing about external markers of success. They often are built on who you were, not who you've become. So those goals that you set 5, 10 years ago, they were created by a version of you that had different priorities, different values, and maybe even different dreams. And I see this all the time with dietitians that I work with. Okay. They've built these incredible practices, but sometimes they feel disconnected from their own success. They're working the weekends sometimes because they can't say no to clients. I really help them to say no. They're undercharging because they've always undercharged. And of course, I help them to stop doing that. They're following protocols that they created years ago that no longer light them up. And of course, I help them fix that. But this is the thing I want you to know. When you've, quote, air quotes, made it, okay, when you've made it, people expect you to be satisfied. They expect you to have it all figured out. So you smile and you say thank you when people congratulate you on your success. But inside you're wondering, is this really it? Because we mistake being busy for being fulfilled. And we confuse external validation with internal satisfaction. Now, what I want you to know about us is this. And when I say us, I'm referring to us high achievers. We are especially susceptible to this because we're so good at pushing through, at making things work, at succeeding despite the circumstances. We'll optimize and strategize and hustle our way through just about anything. But my friends, you cannot optimize your way out of misalignment. I promise you that. So let me tell you what the real cost of being the air quote successful dietitian looks like. It's not just the long hours of financial stress, though that is real for some. The real cost is the slow erosion of who you actually are. When you're known as the expert, people expect you to have all the answers. When you're the go-to person in your field, everyone assumes you've got it all figured out. And when you're successful on paper, you feel pressure to be grateful for what you have, even when it's not what you actually want. Okay. And then you start making decisions based on what successful dietitians should do instead of what feels right for you. You say yes to opportunities because they look good on your resume, not because they align with your values. Okay. But, we need that paper to look good. You maintain a professional image that feels more like a costume that you can't take off. Anybody resonate? Being all buttoned up when you really just want to feel a sense of freedom. And then there's the guilt. Okay. It's the voice that says you should be grateful. Look at what you've accomplished. Other people would kill for your problems. That voice keeps you stuck. Okay. Because it makes wanting more feel selfish and ungrateful. But here's what I want you to understand if you are truly resonating with what I'm saying today. Outgrowing your success is not a character flaw. It is simply a sign of growth. And it means that you've evolved and your work needs to evolve with you. And I learned this along the way. So if you're feeling exhausted, it isn't because you're not strong enough or you're not disciplined enough. It's because You're trying to maintain something that no longer fits who you've become. And I want you to evaluate that for yourself and be honest with yourself. Because when you are feeling exhausted because you've outgrown yourself and outgrown what you have built, and you keep on keeping on, it's like wearing a coat that's 3 sizes too small and wondering why you can't breathe. Now, I want to also talk about some of the real reasons that you may feel stuck and you don't even know it. Okay. Because here's what most coaches won't tell you. If you feel stuck, despite being successful on paper, okay, the problem isn't your strategy and it's not your marketing or your systems or your time management. Your problem is alignment, my friend. And I know that sounds kind of fluffy and flighty, but it's true. It is so true. Is it possible that your current success was built on a version of you that no longer exists? The dietitian who started your practice had different priorities, possibly, different fears, different dreams than you do now. But somehow we expect our work to just remain static all the way through while we continue to grow and change, which is kind of crazy if you think about it, right? And this is why adding more tactics and strategies just don't work. This is why just work harder leaves you even more exhausted. Okay. And this is also why following someone else's blueprint feels like trying to wear their clothes. Okay. It might technically fit, but not so much. It just doesn't feel like you. Right. So I had a client who told me recently that she feels like she's successful at someone else's life. And that really, really resonated. I could understand that because I knew exactly what she meant. She had built everything she thought she was supposed to want, but it felt like she was living someone else's version of success. I wonder if any of you listening can understand that or resonate with that, because I've seen the conversations online. I'm in just about all of the dietitian specific Facebook groups and LinkedIn. I see the complaints, many of them about just being tired. Many of the conversations about going back to work for someone else because it's just really hard to be in business for yourself. Okay. But I want you to know that a lot of times it's not just about being in business for yourself that is hard. It really truly is about just not creating the thing that you were meant to create. Maybe you created something that was a version of someone else's version of success and not really your own. Maybe you crossed all the T's and dotted all the I's, but it was not really what you wanted for yourself. You thought it was going to turn out a certain way, and it just did not. So, what do you do when success isn't enough? How do you honor what you've built while creating what you actually want? So, first, you have to give yourself permission to want more than just success on paper. Your desire for something different isn't a character flaw. It's actually your inner wisdom recognizing that you've outgrown where you are. And the path forward isn't about burning everything down either or starting over. Okay. I really want to emphasize that. It is not about burning it all down. It is not about starting over from scratch. It's actually about just making some shifts, and it's about realignment. It's about taking what you've built and then evolving it to match who you've become. So, here are three things that I want you to think of when you're really trying to realign things. First, I want you to think of values. Your work needs to reflect your current values, not the values you had when you started. Okay. If freedom is important to you now, your schedule needs to reflect that. Okay. If authenticity matters to you more now, your services need to feel genuine to who you are today. Okay. So, first and foremost, you have to align your values with your work. Secondly, we need an identity evolution. And what I mean by that is that you're not the same person who started your practice, especially if you started it 5, 10 years ago and you're feeling misaligned with it. So, if this is true, then stop trying to fit into that old version of yourself. Your expertise maybe has deepened, your confidence has grown, your perspective has expanded, and your work should reflect that evolved version of you. Now, lastly, when it comes to creating a realignment of your career or your practice, there needs to be lifestyle integration. Success is not just about what you accomplish in your career. It is also about how you feel when you're accomplishing it. So your work needs to enhance your life and not consume it. And this means creating boundaries, my friends. Number one, boundaries. You also have to have systems and practices and policies that support both your professional goals and your personal well being. So, if you want to begin integrating these three things that I just mentioned, your values, your identity now versus what it was 10 years ago, and your lifestyle integration, the first thing that I want you to do is to audit your current practice. Look at your current practice and ask yourself, what parts still light me up? And then what feels heavy or maybe even outdated? Where am I operating from should instead of want? I want you to really get honest about where you are and is it truly aligned? Secondly, think about defining success on your terms. So forget what successful dietitians are supposed to do. What does success mean to you now? What would it look like and how would it feel? And I believe that that feeling part is the most important part. How would it feel to be successful? And when I say feel, I want you to think of an emotion. Okay. I have worked with so many dietitians that have difficulty accessing their emotions, their feelings. When I ask them how they feel, they're not quite certain how to access that. And if you are that person, then you'll want to access the feeling or the emotion wheel online so that you can look at the different vast amount of emotions that us humans are gifted to feel. Look at those and choose one that would make most sense for you. And lastly, in this, how to get started realigning your practice or your career, I want you to just make one aligned decision. As I mentioned, you do not have to burn it all down. You do not have to start over from scratch, but you do have to choose one area where you can make a decision that honors who you've become now. Maybe it's raising your rates. Maybe it's changing your schedule. Okay. Maybe it's saying no to something that no longer serves you. Okay. Now, the goal isn't to create this perfect career or practice overnight. The goal is to just start moving in the direction of who you're becoming instead of trying to maintain where you are, because that, my friends, makes you feel stuck in a life that is no longer serving you. So, as we wrap this up today, if you've been feeling stuck despite your success, I want you to know that you're not alone. You're not ungrateful for what you have. You're just human. You're evolving, and your work deserves to evolve with you. Success is not a destination that you arrive at and then you stay there forever. It's a moving target that shifts as you grow and change. And the key is being brave enough to let your definition of success evolve too. Your desire for something more than just successful on paper isn't a problem to be solved. It's actually wisdom to be honored. So I want you to trust it and I want you to follow it. Okay. And know that you don't have to choose between honoring what you've built and creating what you actually want. You don't have to choose. You can have both. All right. So this is what I have for you today, my friends. I want you to decide that it's okay to evolve. You don't have to stay stuck in the same practice or the same way of practicing dietetics, even if you are employed. That you get to evolve, your career gets to evolve, and everything gets to align with the lifestyle that you are living today, not the one that you were living 10, 15 years ago. All right. I hope this was helpful to anyone. And if you know another dietitian that this would be helpful for, would you share this podcast episode with her? Because I am so convinced that I still have not met all of the dietitians who will need this work. So if you share this out, I will be so grateful. Have a great rest of your day and the weekend ahead, and I'll see you on our next episode of Make More Money as a Dietitian. Bye for now, friends. Hey there, my friend. If something in today's episode hit different, I'd love that for you. This week, I invite you to take one action that feels a little scary, yet honors your work. And for more resources and ways to work together, head on over to manipuracenter.co. Remember, you're not asking for too much, my friend. You've just been settling for too little.